So, what is going on, guys? This is Ryan here.
And this is Other Ryan here.
And today we're going to be discussing Shadow Bonnie. Now, quite a lot of people have actually been asking us to discuss Shadow Bonnie, and we've finally taken the plunge, and we're going to give you guys a little bit of a theory video on what Shadow Bonnie might actually represent. Now, it's started to become apparent that Shadow Bonnie might actually represent a character, and not be just a hallucination that we all thought he or she first was in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Now, this actually comes in from Five Nights at Freddy's 3, and on night 4, you can actually see what appears to be a small doll on your desk of Shadow Bonnie. And also in the night leading up to night 4, aka night 3, down Clue Corridor, you can actually see a Shadow Bonnie looking figure.
Yeah, and in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, that's where it all stemmed. Occasionally, well, very, very rarely, you'll see Shadow Bonnie to the left of your office with white eyes and white teeth. And there was a huge debate basically saying that it can't be Shadow Bonnie because it doesn't have the right teeth. It's like, oh, it's the body build of Toy Bonnie, but it's the teeth of normal Bonnie. And loads of people went frantic over it, and we didn't actually know who this character was until possibly now.
Yeah, because that was always a kind of, I suppose you could say, a cliffhanger of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Shadow Bonnie was this really mysterious character, and everyone was really puzzled on what it might represent.
Yes.
Yeah, and it seems like in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, it seems to make almost too much sense. I mean, now I'm going to go straight onto Springtrap. Now, Springtrap has a very similar build to Shadow Bonnie. Shadow Bonnie is very tall, very slim, and, of course, is one of the Bonnie family. So, it almost makes sense that Shadow Bonnie could be a direct representation of Springtrap, but in the past games before we actually knew exactly of him.
Yeah, it seems like what we're seeing in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is either a present Springtrap in that present time or a future hallucination of what is going to be Springtrap.
Yeah, and I actually believe that it's some form of present representation, like it's actually in the office with you. And what actually makes me believe that is because, well, we know Springtrap to exist, and I think when you actually double click or click multiple times on the small Shadow Bonnie doll on your desk, you're directed to the minigame where most people speculate you're in Fazbear's, the first ever Fazbear establishment, isn't it?
Yes.
And you appear to be on stage. There appears to be Shadow Bonnie right there, and there seems to be also some kind of golden Freddy-like character. Now, I think there's definitely a link between, of course, the little doll and also the Bonnie who's on stage. And I think that the Shadow Bonnie is actually representing that almost Shadow Bonnie, Springtrap has existed all throughout the time that the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has existed within the video game world.
Yeah, this would make sense because you can go through the stages of each minigame as well, and we don't know the timelines of each specific minigame, so yeah, that could be correct.
Precisely, and I mean, if Golden Freddy also appears in the establishment, and when we actually click this animatronic, the little small Shadow Bonnie figure, and we're taken to this minigame and we can see the Golden Freddy and also the Golden Bonnie Springtrap, it almost makes sense that if we can see these hallucinations where, of course, Golden Freddy exists, Shadow Bonnie, or should I say Springtrap, also exists alongside Golden Freddy.
Yeah, and this leads back to something we just said previously about the white eyes and the white teeth of Shadow Bonnie in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. You brought up an interesting idea that the suit could possibly be in motion within this time period.
Yeah, and the idea of this actually stems from our original discussion on the Purple Freddy in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and whether or not it was in operation. Now, if you actually look at the Purple Freddy character, it appears that the eyes seem to be lit up and they're a very vibrant white. Now, for example, if you look back to the Golden Freddy animatronic, we can see that this suit is definitely not in use, and this is because the eyes are blacked out. So this means that Scott knows when the animatronics are in use, there seems to be some kind of representation with the white eyes, and when they're not in use, the eyes are definitely blanked out. But when we actually see this hallucination and we see Shadow Bonnie, the eyes are definitely white. They're a very distinct and, I suppose you could say, a really striking white, and it just makes me think, is something inside of this suit?
Yeah, and that would go on to who is inside this suit, because we know Springtrap to be operational. You can jump inside as a human, so obviously it's one of the people who work at the establishment who is in this suit.
And it makes you think, could it actually be the same guy who's operating the Purple Freddy, which in turn could tie back into the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 sequences where we flash back, the minigame sequences that is, and we see the Purple Freddy. And this could actually mean that when the Purple Freddy lures you to the back room, he actually changes out of this animatronic and gets into a totally new one, i.e. Springtrap in this case.
Yes. So yeah, guys, that was a theory on Shadow Bonnie and who he could possibly represent in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and Five Nights at Freddy's 3. If you enjoyed the theory, be sure to comment your own ideas down below, as we love reading your suggestions and also your little theories.
And hey, if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe for daily theories and also gameplays, and also like the video if you did enjoy.
And of course, we'll see you guys on the next video.
Goodbye, everybody. Want to see even more content from us?
Consider liking and subscribing to ensure you'll see all content in the foreseeable future.
And hey, why not check out our past 2 videos?